Eunice, what was the Civil War?
You should know this. The Civil War was when the North and South parts of America went to war with each other.
Oh, that's right. I'm starting to remember now. It started with a bad case of slavery.
Okay, then let's learn about the Civil War.
Oh, wow. How'd you do that?
Don't change the subject.
Okay.
In Virginia, in 1619, slavery began in the United States. Around the time the American Revolution ended, most of the northern states had abandoned slavery. However, it continued to grow and flourish in the plantation economy of the South.
That's right. There are many conflicts caused by the slavery before the Civil War. Slavery was the majority of why the Civil War was fought, right?
Opposed slavery and did not need it. The people living in the North owned, operated, and worked in factories and mills, while on the other hand, the South used and depended on slaves. The South grew cotton and needed a lot of people to work in the farms for no money.
Wait, I thought the North was pro-slavery.
If the North wasn't pro-slavery, do you think I wouldn't have said it?
I guess not.
Anyways, when the United States started growing, it was becoming badly divided. The industrial North and the agricultural South. The Congress didn't want the differences to create division.
Also, with new states coming into the nation, both sides feared that the balance of power in Congress would be uneven,
and that's when the Missouri Compromise kicked in. It was created to maintain balance of power in Congress between the North and South.
Yeah, that's right. It stated that a state could not be slave state unless it was below the former Louisiana Territory. Also, if there was a new slave state, the next state to join had to be a free state to maintain the balance. There was also another compromise made during that time. It was a compromise of 1850. The conditions were that California had to enter as a free state, while New Mexico and Utah had to use popular sovereignty to become a free state or a slave state.
Another part of that compromise was in the Republic of Texas gave up lands that it claimed in present-day New Mexico and received $10 million to pay its debts to Mexico.
So there were 5 parts to the compromise. The last part was that the slave trade was abolished in the District of Columbia. And lastly, the most controversial, the Fugitive Slave Act, forced people in the North to help slave owners who lost their runaway slaves. But wait, those were just the causes. What actually started the war?
Well, if you're paying attention in class, you would know that Bleeding Kansas is the start of the Civil War.
Right. There's many battles in the Civil War.
Yes, that is true. There was the Battle of Bull Run, the Battle of Fort Sumter, the Peninsula Campaign, the Battle of Chancellorsville, the Battle of Gettysburg, and the Battle of Antietam.
Wow, that's a lot of battles. But now can you tell me about the people who fought these wars?
There are 2 sides to this battle, the Confederacy and the Union.
Oh, I remember this. The Confederacy was the people of the South who favored slavery, and the Union was the people of the North. They were against slavery. The Confederacy made a living from farms and plantations. Unlike the South, the Union made a living from factories and trade. The Union had a very industrial economy, while on the other hand, Confederacy had an agricultural economy. The Confederacy was at a huge disadvantage when it came to transportation of weapons. The Confederacy did have an advantage when it came to the number of trained soldiers, though, mostly because 7 of the 8 military schools were in the South. Most of the fighting was done in the South, so they had an advantage because they were more familiar with the land. However, slavery did not become a moral cause of the Union effort until Abraham Lincoln had declared the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863.
The North and South both had different forms of transportation.
Yeah, the Union had balloons. Union spies would float above the Confederate encampments and report back to their commanders. Although the Confederacy did not have balloons, they had submarines. Confederacy used these submarines to sink the Northern's ironclad warships that blockaded the port.
What about the railroads and canals?
Huh?
The Union used railroads, roads, and canals to transport people and trade. However, the Confederacy was at a disadvantage here. The South did not have many railroads. The Confederacy mostly had steamboats, but that couldn't go too far inland and provide them kind of useless.
The North and South had different means of communication as well. The North used the telegraph while the South used messengers to get information around. The North also had an advantage on medicine as well. The North had small hospitals here and there, and doctors and nurses would travel back and forth helping soldiers in many different places.
Women also contributed to the Civil War. They made goods and sent them to the soldiers as well as supplies. Some women worked as nurses or disguised themselves as men and took up arms. Some women even became spies for their nations.
Women were very helpful in the Civil War, but weapons were also very important in the Civil War, yes?
Obviously they were important.
Ow!
The Union had very advanced bullets called Manet bullets. They were cone-shaped lead bullets with a diameter smaller than a rifle barrel and was more accurate, and soldiers could load them without the aid of ramrods or mallets.
Didn't they have advanced weapons to shoot these bullets with? What were they called again?
The most famous of the guns used during the time were called the Spencer carbines. They could fire 7 shots in 30 seconds.
Wow!
There were also many famous people who were in the war.
Some examples were...
There was Nurse Dorothea Dix, General Robert E. Lee, Union President Abraham Lincoln, the Confederate President Jefferson Davis, General William T. Sherman, and the abolitionists John Brown, Harriet Tubman, and Frederick Douglass. This is the end of the show. Please press the stop button.